The time, I've just noticed, is 11:11. So what a perfect time to be making a video. The world is a stage, and by popular consensus, some of you refer to me as Merlin. Well, if you wish me to act the part of Merlin, then it has to be said, or the question comes as, what structure, what building would you associate with Merlin? Well, one such thing that readily comes to mind is Camelot. So what started, if you refer back to the video New Home, New Buddy, which is I think about 6-7 weeks ago now. You remember the tree? It was sort of hanging over the edge. It's now been incorporated into a stone retaining wall because the bamboo is just not strong enough, but it used in conjunction, it works. Now we had heavy rain, and I had to relieve the weight and the pressure from the top areas because I hadn't got advanced enough with the bringing the courses of stonework up, and every one of these single blocks I have this physical avatar has carried, and it comes often with a battle or a little argument internally between I and myself. Whereas myself is, the avatar is complaining that the shoulders are aching, or the back is aching, or the arms are aching. and I am saying, well, you picked the stones, you chose to carry so many in one go, so your responsibility, so don't complain. So yes, all of these stones I have moved. Now, is it a folly, or is there something more to it? Well, for a start, it is a lesson and an experience in dry stone warning. It is a learning curve in working with this beautiful clay soil. It is a learning curve with making cement, making concrete, creating structures, interlocking the stones. It also is a wonderful physical fitness exercise. It comes with a practicality which will be put to restoration of the buildings. There's where Buddy sleeps. He doesn't sleep in the teepee because he doesn't like the sound of the wind at night. It sort of seems to frighten him, it unnerves him, so that's why he doesn't sleep with me in the teepee. Now, amazingly, why Dr. Juan Forfar? Well, confirmation is from this junction here right down to the bottom, where you can go left towards the lemon trees and the bamboo, or right along towards the water cave, is exactly on average 72 steps, obviously depending on how big your footsteps are and obviously how much weight in buckets, usually 12 stones or sometimes even single boulders. But 72 and 72 makes 144. There are no coincidences in this reality. So you've got to have a bit of fun, a bit of humour with things, as well as creating these win-win-wins of physical exercise, experience, and learning these practical skills. So this is a genuine folly, not one of these things from the 19th century that you'll find dotted all over the place with a BS narrative of some eccentric billionaire who built them within the photographic age, but you can't find construction photos. Well, here's a video that shows the construction of this folly. And it's almost an amusing thought that 2040, the Phoenix event, if for example, that this survived intact, this area of paradise and this retaining wall actually survived, and then some archaeologist or conspiracy theorist in 500 years' time discovers it and finds traces of what's left of the bamboo, if it hasn't all rotted away by then, and then comes up with some sort of theory of, oh, Tatari, it must have started in China because there's the bamboo. So it's a little, the folly is just as much as anything, it's a joke as much as it is a learning the construction. So hence it's something resembling a round tower around this tree. And eventually, because it's got all sorts of thistles and what you'd call weeds, wild grasses, they will grow through and take these more sloping areas back and hopefully just leave this sort of tower. So it's sort of an amusing thing on my part as much as anything else, and I hope you appreciate the joke. But there is obviously a practical side to it as well, as I've explained. I'll show you a miracle as well, or tell you about a miracle. The first one in these pots here, those 12 seeds, that orange and lemon seeds, they've now started to sprout. How beautiful is that, eh? So this is sort of a viewing area, a sitting area, and with a practicality to it. And there's the slopes of death, but the construction of this, when we had the heavy rain the other day, this proved itself in test with a load of this really torrential rain for a few hours, 2 days in succession. So I had to remove some of the clay. It turned into the most beautiful clay which was able to work into the rock. And of course, that really, down there, I don't know if it shows roughly where the shadow of the avatar's head is what's left of the original structure. So nothing is wasted. What it gave me where it collapsed with its original bamboo structure, the bamboo rebar, with sufficient ballast which I'd already carried up or transported and used, but it gave me sufficient material to make a lower walkway so I could work from the bottom up and interlock the stones and learn how to do it as I go. So it's been a beautiful, beautiful experience. It's not been a disaster. It's just shown a few glitches that have been addressed. And like everything, like I said on the previous video, test it. Everything is being tested. This is what this reality is. Yes, it was supposed to be a holiday deck. It was supposed to be a paradise. But something went horribly wrong. But at the same time, look at everything in this reality. Be it a car, a mobile phone, whatever, a device, anything. Everything is being tested. Everything follows patterns. Right up in the sky, you've got the sun and the moon. They do what is called the analemma. It's like a figure of 8. You can think of it also like the cycle of life and death. From birth to death, you could take as the smaller upper loop of that analemma, and the bigger bottom loop is the period from death to rebirth. But everything is recycled. The system is very good at recycling. It's testing the avatar by putting it through all kinds of mental abuses and physical abuses with the poisons, the synthetic versions of what is natural. But of course, these avatars are resilient and overcome things like everything else in nature. But they're finite and they do have limits. So we have to find the balance between these things, and the easiest way to do that is to go down the natural route and follow what nature gives you. Now here, as I said on the previous video, I have found the gold. Let me put it to you this way. Those lemon trees down there, they drop lemons, but why don't the lemons that are under the tree start to seed and turn into a tree? Well, one, it would overcrowd the existing parent lemon tree, and you'll notice this in nature, that the apple may not fall far from the tree, but the ones that are too close will not germinate. Therefore, I would suggest there is a communication between the tree and the seed, which tells which seeds to germinate and which ones can't. And I would even go so far as to say that even as human avatars, our interaction does not negate the telepathic, shall we say, communication between the tree and the seed. And these ones can germinate because they're not falling under the existing tree. It's an amazing thing with nature. But on to the magic. I was talking to Keith the other day and I said, next time I go down the hill I'm going to bring back some lemons to make some lemonade. And of course we had the torrential rain and it didn't happen. So the next day I've walked down there. The intention is to collect lemons. And I got 10. The first tree, as I approached it, actually dropped 2 lemons. The second tree dropped a lemon. The third tree dropped a lemon. The other 6 I picked up. Now I would suggest from that these avatars give off a signal, an intention, an interaction with these lemon trees who freely gave. Now that is a windfall, because those trees, as I approached them, you could say it's just coincidence, but they happened to drop those lemons as I approached them. To me, that is real magic. Now, magic is one of those words. It's been anchored to basically men in sort of black suits and top hats and doing these conjuring tricks, and they are just illusions and tricks. That is not real magic. And it's also to compartmentalize and diminish the real meaning of magic, which is the interaction with the nature. And also, look how these coincidences all happen. Like I start this video at 11:11, there's going down and back up is 144 steps, and so on and so on. All these things you can continually dismiss and continue with a cognitive dissonance, but there is an unseen metaphysical, and this reality is a neutral field. It all depends on where the intention is coming from as to the outcome. Let's just cut the BS completely here. Now, you can look at Observation Deck, or you can find it for yourself. City of London published reports state quite clearly that there are 5 men who set the price of gold and silver every day, and they admit in a printed publication that they create wars to generate money. Now, if there was somebody firing a gun over there towards me in some sort of costume, there may be a story, oh, it's this or that army from whatever nation is invading. I think if you look back to 2020, you can see how easily humanity can be manipulated and fooled with bad scripts. And all these phony wars, all these things that are actually gossip and hearsay, and they are spread via us through the internet when we repeat them. Well, look, you wanted me to play the part of Merlin, so I'm going to say to you, if you haven't already seen it, go back and look at young Merlin. I think the actor's name is Sam Neill. Now, in that story, the Lady of the Lake, the White Queen and the Black Queen of the old world, they lose all their power because Merlin and everybody else that's there turn their back. They don't focus their attention. Because attention is attention on the mind. That is why you are giving news. It wants you to look at these things. Same as these leaked documents, WikiLeaks and all these other things. And I get sent little links. Consider who is doing the leaking and what is the intention behind it. Because yes, you'll get the information in that leaked document. Automatically, most people will think it's some employee who's risked his life or risked his career to sneak this information out. But what is that information really about? Is it helping you with the inner work, or is it just trying to validate something that causes more, as Lana would say, causes us to be monkeys just throwing shit at each other? One saying, well, look, the figures say this. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's all by design. It is all there to keep you away from doing that inside job, the internal work, and sorting out inside yourself. Because if you sort out inside yourself and you get it right, you'll start to see the magic unfold. It's like with this first structure. What was the first thing I did? I didn't vocalize it, but the intention and the thought which is picked up by Mother Earth, whatever you want to call this reality, was I apologized for the damage and the destruction from my stupidity in trying to use bamboo and then to sort of counter the heavy clay. But the material wasn't wasted. Nature has been kind, and I'm going to say a big thank you, because I'm sure it is Cosmo that has sent the rain. I feel it. It's not the only, almost like dog spirit. Sometimes when I'm working here, it feels like there's a nature spirit or a dog from maybe 300, 400, 500 years ago that's just curiously watching what I'm doing. It's an amazing thing. But my testimony again is like these lemon trees. It's freely given. The other day I wished for onions. Now, I didn't vocalize these intentions. I didn't say them out loud. They remained as thoughts. But consider that biblical passage that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh. Think about that for a minute. The Word was made flesh. It doesn't say that the Word was made flesh and then the flesh vocalized anything. And my experience is the most powerful manifestations is when you don't vocalize them and put out a disturbance into the ether. But it's still the Word, it's still a voice that is in your mind, that is creating and putting out like a metaphysical post-it note. And it does respond. Julia informed me yesterday that we've had no transport. We were only talking about this yesterday, about manifesting a car. Well, we have a car being delivered on Sunday. There's another proof, another testimony, another example of if you change your perspective, you take control of the vessel instead of allowing it to be influenced from the outside, from the external. Because that is exactly what the news is, north, east, west and south, getting you to look everywhere except at the center point, which is inside you. That is your Christ consciousness, the center of your being, the spirit that guides you. But many have been, shall we say, firewalled off since 2020, and no longer seem to have that ability if they ever did, and they have this awful thing called cognitive dissonance. So even if you present them with printed facts and figures, they would still not accept it, because it would be too much of an overload for them. But who is to say what anybody should, would or could be doing? Think about it. If you put U in old, you've got O-U-L-D, the organic U. The L on two legs, heading towards D, which is death. Now you can put a W or a C in front of it. Now the W is like a magical thing. It's like, where are we? knock the W off, you'll find you're here. The C, when you could, is when you see it but you don't, because of the cognitive dissonance kicks in. And the other one, the should, is basically the old and being shoved, being joined together. It's being coerced, being pushed. You should do this, you should do that. I've been picked up on this, and it's quite correct. When I say you should be doing something, it's bad language on my part. Perhaps what I should... Perhaps I can phrase it better and say to you, from my experience, I have found, then depending on what the thing is, and I would recommend that you do this. So, sometime this year, I'm going to give you a personal testimony on a grape fast, a lemon fast, an orange fast, and various other things. I will not advocate anything unless I have got the experience that I've put the avatar through, and then I can tell you of the findings. Then it's up to you whether you wish to do that. It is called free will. Anyway, this is probably, what are we up to? Oh, 21 minutes. 21:20. 21:22. Wow. We could keep going with these numbers and things, but think about it. Everything has a mathematical, numerical sequence to it. Fibonacci sequence, golden spiral. It's shown in nature. You've got patterns and everything. The analemma, the cycle of life and death, the endless loop. It is all one big feedback loop. That's not to say that you are trapped here. That's another one of these nonsense things that's come about to make you feel negative. Rise above it. The only way to do that is to put yourself through the experiences, and that is the secret known only to one. It's what you, as an individual within those individual avatars, experience. And that is also your testimony, and that is also your truth. I'm going to say love to you all, because this has gone on way too long. So, folly, or a bit of fun, a bit of exercise, a learning curve. And don't forget that ultimate tarot card reading, 100% guaranteed accuracy. I'll put links in the description. Love to you all.